Hey guys, what's going on? Are you struggling to figure out what the deal is with D&O Insurance? Well, stay tuned because today we're diving into D&O Insurance. Hey guys, what's going on? Rob here with GRBM, and today we're talking D&O Insurance, aka Directors and Officers Insurance. Now, D&O Insurance, as I'm going to use just because directors and officers, too much to say, it's a mouthful, I don't like saying it. Anyway, D&O Insurance is kind of misunderstood, a lot of questions are asked about it, and today we're hoping to get the majority of those answered for you. Now, D&O Insurance, what is it, why you need it, how much of it do you need, how much it costs, what the heck is D&O even stand for? We're going to get into all of that. So stay tuned. All right, guys, let's get the first question out of the way. What the heck is D&O Insurance? D&O Insurance is a claims-made policy which is designed to protect the board members and directors and officers of the company from the screw-ups of the other board members or directors, officers, etc. Now, what does that really mean? Well, if someone alleges that one of the board members, etc., does something that hurts the company, they can bring suit against you. That could be outside investors, other board members, other company officers. The one thing to keep in mind is intentional, illegal acts are really not covered. So if you or that other board member knowingly goes completely rogue, does something completely illegal, you're kind of out of luck. But if that happens, you got big problems anyway. Whether this insurance covers it or not might not really help. That being said, there is possibility with some of the carriers to negotiate that in, but by and large, if it's completely blatantly intentional, you just need to go after that board member as an individual. But protecting the individual acts of the board members, directors, etc. is the entire design of the D&O policy. Because these individuals, directors, officers, etc., are responsible for running the company, making those key decisions, having insurance to back up any decision that they might have made incorrectly is super important. Because just because they're running the company doesn't mean they're perfect. Side note, if you're on the board or a director or officer of a company and you're not sure if you have D&O insurance, go ahead and click the Get a Quote Now button because that is super important and you might want to consider resigning your position until that is taken care of. Seriously though, if you're running a company, have multiple directors or officers of the company, or you sit on the board of a nonprofit or company as an advisor, you need D&O insurance because otherwise you could be held personally responsible for those decisions / advice that you give. Not a great plan. So you want to make sure you get the policy because defending these often very complex claims of alleged negligence or alleged wrongdoing can be extremely expensive, and you definitely don't want to be paying for that out of your own pocket. The second question that we get all the time is, how much does it cost? Now we've kind of talked about it, hey, maybe I need this, my company might not have it, whatever. Well, how much does it cost? Well, it varies. There's a lot of factors that affect the D&O pricing, and it's not as flat rate pricing as a lot of other insurance. So how big is your company? How many employees? What's the revenue? What industry are you in? All of these things roll into how much the D&O insurance costs. At the end of the day though, it's not a super expensive policy. They start at as little as $500 for a nonprofit and generally speaking $750 for a for-profit company. Now, that being said, if your company is doing tens of millions of dollars in receipts, don't expect to pay $750. But it's not going to be an earth-shattering cost. The other thing to keep in mind is having this coverage is going to help you land those board members, directors, officers that you want. Because by and large, if they're an experienced business person in that role, they're going to ask about this coverage. And if you're stammering, stuttering, and wondering what the heck is D&O insurance when this person asks, they might just move on to another company. So having that coverage in your back pocket, so when you're asked about it, you can be like, yep, absolutely. We have, $1 million or $5 million in coverage. It's going to help you land that key talent that you want. So moving on to the next question is kind of why do you need it? Well, there's really two reasons. The first is to protect your board members from the other board members. And I'm just using board members because I don't want to keep saying board members, directors, officers, etc. But the key is, to protect those board members from the other board members and the decisions that they make, and, making sure that they don't individually get held responsible for whatever Joe down the hall did. Makes sense, right? The second reason you really want to have D&O insurance is to retain and attract those key talent. I said this a little bit earlier, but the experienced business person is going to ask and look for this coverage before signing on the dotted line for that job offer you made to them. So if you're trying to get a new VP of sales or advisor for your board, they're going to want to know you have D&O, and they're going to want to make sure you have appropriate limits for your business. Just something to keep in mind. All right, so the next question that we get asked all the time is kind of, what does D&O actually cover? Two main parts of D&O insurance. There is a third, but we're not going to get deep into that because unless you're a publicly traded company, kind of doesn't matter. And I don't think any publicly traded companies are watching this video. If you are, hey, let's talk. I'm flattered, but Fortune 500 probably not watching this YouTube video, so we're going to ignore that third part for now. The two main parts are called Side A and Side B, and then that third part that we're not talking about is Side C. Now, the really easy way to understand this is Side A is coverage for me as the board member, protects me personally. I get reimbursed, blah, blah, blah. This is all about me. Side A, me. Side B is all about the company. If you're interested in diving deeper into what those coverages mean, I'll link it up to the article. I outlined all of that, but the real key is Side A is for me, Side B is for the company, and together they protect the directors, officers, board members from both sides. The other cool thing about D&O insurance is it has a broad definition of what constitutes a quote claim, and so you can actually get coverage for things that maybe loosely fall under this, but a traditional policy, your CGL, etc., might deny. The D&O policy could step up and provide coverage because they do have such a broad definition of what constitutes a claim. At the end of the day, what that really does is just help protect the personal assets of these board members and officers. So that's something awesome and huge, because the last thing you want as the executive officer or director of a company is to get dragged into a lawsuit personally and then be left holding the bag. And by bag, I mean the bill from that attorney for $50,000. So one of the other questions we get asked all the time is what types of businesses actually need D&O insurance? So a lot of people understand nonprofits, they have it, their board requires it because they're all volunteers, and the last thing a volunteer wants is to be held personally, financially responsible for something that happened when they weren't even getting paid. So D&O insurance, nonprofit, most people understand that. But in the private sector, both public and privately held for-profit businesses should consider D&O coverage, because your board members and directors don't want to be held personally responsible. Once again, it's all about the money. Your executive officer, while he's probably getting paid a healthy salary, doesn't want to be held, sued, etc. So buy the D&O coverage, protect him or her. More often than not, the topic of D&O insurance comes up for private companies when they're getting investment, because venture capitalists, etc., they all want to make sure that when they get their board seat, they have the coverage there, they aren't sued, they're pretty savvy, and make sure that this coverage is in place. All right, guys, so the last question we're going to answer today is, who's the best? Now, we love best of posts. We do them for a lot of different things, but regarding D&O insurance, there's really one industry leader for D&O insurance here in New York, and that is Chubb Insurance Group, which is great. Chubb is a company that a lot of people have heard of. They're now part of ACE, and so they're just like a mega, huge, giant insurance company, really one of the industry leaders in a ton of different types of insurance. But they offer really broad, comprehensive D&O insurance at a fair premium, which, fair is relative. Some people are going to say they're expensive. Well, they might be a little bit more expensive, but their coverage forms are insanely broad, and they really step up when the time comes if you have a claim. Having an insurance company be there when you have a claim is the whole reason you buy insurance. So buying that slightly cheaper, maybe half a percentage point or a percentage point cheaper policy, and then having them be kind of iffy come claim time isn't worth it. Chubb has an excellent reputation for being there on site with the checkbook open. All right, guys, so thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this video valuable and answered at least some of your questions. If you have further questions, I encourage you to reach out. I'd be happy to chat about this with you and figure out what makes sense for you.